President, is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw it reported today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country. And that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit, okay?
Total bull ass. That's what it is. So just, if that's something you care about, Jeffrey Epstein and his decades-long trail of victims and Ghislaine Maxwell, who might soon be walking free, you're following a trail of BS is what you're doing. Why the hell are you so stupid? Why do you care about this thing? It's boring and it's a hoax and it's fake. And Donald Trump is not pretending to care about this one quantum more than he was a month ago. And that reporting, which was definitely true, that JD Vance was gonna be getting together Pam Bondi and Patel and all of them to figure out, what do we do about this thing? We can't get a grasp on it. It was totally true, but they're just laughing. Oh, the reporting, like we're gonna do that. You think we're gonna meet to talk about this? We're not gonna talk about this. We don't care about this. And they are lying there, but it's pretty true. Donald Trump said it was total bull ass, and he was mad. He was actually emotional. He was more emotional than he has ever been in condemning Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. He was more emotional there than he ever was about like any sort of pursuit of justice for the victims. And so he cares 1,000 times more about the fact that you're being mean to him by bringing this up than you are in wanting to know what actually happened and who might still be out there on the loose, maybe still victimizing people. Donald Trump doesn't care about that, and he's not even pretending to. And so they're all going with the story that now the dinner last night, the strategy dinner, wasn't true. The communications director for Vance says it's pure fiction. There was never a supposed meeting or whatever. And the thing is, there's no reason for anyone to believe a claim that they make. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, they have been lying to your face in transparent ways for far too long for you to extend them any belief that they could potentially be telling the truth now. And so what they were gonna be doing was figuring out, what do we do about this? So should we hold a press conference with Todd Blanche? Should we do an interview with like Joe Rogan or whatever? These are definitely conversations they're having. It is ridiculous for them to lie about it. And the only reason they backed off and supposedly didn't have it, and I'm sure they're gonna have it in some form, is because it looked so bad. In part because the family, Virginia Jeffrey, actually put out a statement as a result of that reporting saying, we understand that JD Vance will hold a strategy session this evening at his residence. Missing from this group is, of course, any survivor of the vicious crimes of convicted perjurer and sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Their voices must be heard above all. We also call upon the House subcommittee to invite survivors to testify. But the issue is, their voices are not being heard and their voices are not wanted. Has Donald Trump ever brought one of them into the Oval Office? He made us listen to what, Elon Musk, how many times? Just wasting our time with that. Has he ever met with the victims? Has he ever talked to them? Does he even pretend to care about them? The only time he mentioned any of these individuals was to pitch himself as the victim, that they stole my employee. I had a perfectly good 16-year-old working in my massage parlor that I was individually aware of. I knew about this 16-year-old for some reason. I have thousands of employees, but I knew about this 16-year-old in a massage parlor, and I was so mad about him stealing this human from me that I cut off my relationship. Of course, that's a lie. He maintained that relationship for like 4 to 6 years after that, but that's the story he would have you believe. And now I want to bring you in, Yaz. What do you think about I don't know, what are we in, week 3, week 4 of the terrible response to this scandal?
Yeah, I actually covered this for Rebel HQ just now. But yeah, this is funny to me. First of all, you're absolutely right. There is no reason to believe anything they tell you at this point. They first tried to make Maxwell seem like an unreliable witness, which of course she is. She's lied under oath. We know that. But this was back when they were scared that she would reveal some kind of damning information that would incriminate Republicans or Trump or, all of them. But then they send Todd Blanche to see her in prison. And next thing you know, she's been moved to Texas to a facility that she's not even eligible for because the crimes that she has been convicted of, not accused of, but convicted of, were so heinous, right? And now she's just at one of these, resort type prisons here in Texas, not too far away from where I am. And, so we've seen a lot of waffling from them here and there. Then there's that dinner that JD Vance was hosting, because what they need now is they need a united front, right? They have to get ahead of the messaging. Everything else they've tried so far has not worked to kill this story. So how can they do it? Let's strategize a little bit. And so what they're doing, I think AG Pam Bondi was there and Kash Patel, and you mentioned some people, but they were all there discussing how they can best do this and how they can get on message, stay on message, and then, convey that message to their base. And it was either a press conference or go on Joe Rogan's podcast. And it's funny to me that those two things are like kind of at the same level as far as like, how they can best reach the people. But honestly, if they go on Rogan's podcast, they would be reaching, a more targeted aspect of the base that they're trying to reach. If they do a press conference, then everyone would kind of see that. If they go on Joe Rogan, a very specific subset of people is watching Joe Rogan regularly and would watch the entire episode. But the thing is, Joe Rogan right now is kind of a wrench in their plan, because he is part of the reason as to why this story hasn't died yet. He's the one who keeps asking, why won't they release the tapes? Why won't they release the unredacted tapes? Why did they say that there's nothing else for them to release? And he's the one who is very much keeping the story alive for that part of the base. And Trump can't really afford to lose that part of the base, because that part of the base arguably got him elected in November. Right before the election, he went on his press spree where he was doing all these podcast appearances. He appealed to Gen Z, specifically to Gen Z men. And now a lot of Gen Z has turned their backs on him, and he's seeing that happen. So the fact that they want to target Joe Rogan for something like this, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and it'll be fascinating if they do it. Joe Rogan has been, he's been somewhat consistent in terms of the criticism of this. If he helps them launder this thing, that's gonna be that's a bad look for Joe Rogan. But they need it, If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?